Okay, so welcome to call number 41 of the Emerging Centers Facing for CARC. This is a free-form roundtable discussion session. We're going to be talking about what's important to everyone on this call and elevating those items, try to identify some things that we might want to talk about further in the year, and have some just sort of general things about what do you want to get done this year, what are your priorities, what are your potential challenges, and things like that. Before we get started with that, however, for anyone new to the call, I just wanted to go over what CARC is. The Campus Research Computing Consortium is a joint organization that advances research computing on campuses through a number of different activities. You can see that we have the People Network, which is what we're in right now, sort of an ongoing year-round remote conference with all of the calls archived to YouTube, so you can keep track. There are 4 or 5 facings. This slide is out of date. There's data facing the emerging centers track, which is where you are right now, researcher facing systems, and strategy and policy. Sorry, Patrick. I don't know where this slide came from other than the call documents. There's also a number of working and interest groups that the CARC leadership has put into action. There are covering things like professionalization within our sector, developing the capabilities model for research computing and data, driving engagement with CARC, the RCD Nexus program, and then an EPSCourse CI workshop. You can find out lots and lots more about CARC on the website at carc.org. And reach out to any of us for more details. So as you've joined the call, please also join the call doc and sign in. We'd love to hear from folks who are joining. And so I'm gonna stop that share if I can. And we can go into, there we go. We can go into our general discussion. So what I put up was just to talk about priority issues, sort of what's on everyone's radar for the year, thinking about things as we move forward, what you want to accomplish, what looks like something that's going to keep you up at night, etc. So I think for where I'm at, I have I would say, working to build more and more partnerships with local faculty, and get more involved with some of the programs that are taking place on campus and taking our center to be a more integrative thing is something I want to approach. I'm really starting to be nervous about being able to provide sufficient infrastructure for people to get things done. And I also have a little bit of recruiting that I hope is going on, but HR is reforming, and I'm really worried about how they're going to redesign all our job positions. so that's my 3. Does anybody else want to throw in there?
I'm writing these in, and people can write them in too. I just put down at the bottom of the call doc under notes and comments, just like priority issues, what's on your radar, kind of those 4 topics that you said. So if people can either +1 on those, if you have something that's that you agree, or add something else, of course. So but yeah, I'll go next. Let's see, what do I want to do? I want to build more partnerships with faculty, get more involved. I'm just kidding, but very similar to yours there, Rich. The infrastructure, we in the last 2 months now we're using 100% of our GPUs. And we have a cryo EM coming on board. So I just had a meeting with them that we're going to order 4 more nodes, and but just the massive increase in use for me has been at the University of Cincinnati. It makes me very worried. And so we are looking to partner with, in the state of Ohio, more with the Ohio Supercomputer Center and Case Western and the how can we do this? You know, I've always said there'll never be enough compute. Well, now there really is not, and there really is not enough storage, and something is going to have to give. So anyway, that's and we just redid our HR, just redid all of our job titles, because if we weren't in IT, we weren't allowed to have the word system in our title or job description. So we report up through the Office of Research, and if we did, we had to report to the Office of IT. So we had to go through and come up with other words for system, and it took a lot of time for, you know, no reason. But anyway, that's sorry that you have to get involved with HR. But that's mine. I'll put mine in the documents. So
Well, from RIT, we were blessed to have some folks come out and do an external assessment. And that has enabled us to sort of just get an outside view of where we're at. And the majority of the findings were on communication. Communication within our organization. We still have to teach our enterprise IT people what research computing is and how it's different from enterprise IT. And also within the research community, we still have the no's and no nots, where basically, well, we didn't know you had that. So that is something that we're working on to better document what we've got, what we provide. Because the other piece is that it's very easy for some people to say, well, do my research for me. It's like, no, that's not really what we're here for. So I think to echo that partnership, and I think that's one where clarifying how we become a partner, what services we provide to that. And then I think the hardware issue, the infrastructure issue, we're getting more and more people who are asking for more and more things. Everybody loves their large language models and wanting to train on 80 gig A100s and H100s. And yeah, those are way too expensive. And then we have people who don't know how to use them, which is actually also hitting some of our technical difficulties of a lot of people are doing millions of itty bitty files, which collapses our file system. And there's no easy way to do it. So it's like, how do we retrain people? We're getting a lot of these downloaded data sets or zip files of billions of files. And so how can we inform the researchers that you need to publish better data sets? When you get a data set, how to convert it into a better world. And so those are some of the things that are really, we're fortunate in that we have the promise of an allocation. So we're actually testing out a Grace Hopper and Grace nodes, and trying to figure out how we're going to power these things with one of the nodes that we found out about is like 4 kilowatts just itself in a 1U rack. So put 42 in these, and yeah, there's going to be no way. So I think that's the other piece. We talked with NVIDIA, and the hard part with them is they're moving so fast that like the OEM vendors can't keep up with the, because they just released the H's. The H's are now out of date, and they're on to the B100, which I can't, Brainwell, I think, or something like that. It's moving at a pace that's almost unsustainable, and all of our researchers are like, well, we have to have the newest and latest, and unfortunately, the prices are changing. We were able to get A100s at $10,000. H100s are $30,000. Who knows what the next one's going to be? And so we're at the point now where how do we make the right decision? And, within my technical team, it's like, well, an H100 is 1.5 times 2 times faster than an A100. So so it's now not necessarily buying for the number, like 1-for-1 replacement cards. Now it's a performance kind of thing. So those are the things that are hitting us this week.
It's
Those are-
but taking it back to one of the things you said earlier on, Kirk. It's one of like there's the whole like making people on campus aware of what you do and that there's things available, and then there's the like making it making realistic expectations of what is actually on the table is like a whole another piece. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I really hear you and is really a concern.
Yeah. Well, and we tried pizza hours. We're
Yeah.
feeding you. Come for free food, and we're not getting the engagement. We had like 2 or 3 people. And so I think this is another piece of how do we engage to get the researchers on board. And like Jane, we just got $1 million sequencer. So now we're like, okay, how are we going to be bringing in 16 terabyte shots every time it runs 16 terabytes. So those are the pieces. And the other piece is we're working on, I got a new facilitator last year, and he just defended the fall. So we're looking at what kind of curricular modules can we create? What kind of short courses or workshops can we do to help teach people how to do better work? Because no matter how much we want, it's like they're asking for 4 A100s. It's like, and they're not using them at all because they're using just CPU. It's like you're stealing 4 A100s and not using them at all. So that's another piece of, and at what point do we ask a biologist or a chemist to learn the computing that they need, and what's that little leverage part? So that's one where we're looking at the HPC carpentry stuff, looking at what can we do to help people, like, okay, this is HDF5, it's better than the billion little files, but you got to learn how to convert. And so I think that might be something as a work product, if we can maybe move that along somehow, some way, to create some common curricular materials. Also leveraging access, but at what point do we start burning that out? Because, we have more and more people asking for more and more things. So
Yeah, we were doing a series of like lunch and learns for a while. I think at this point, 2 falls ago, we substituted a Zoom training series that was joint with our medical campus, and had enough registrants that I said, I'm never buying another box lunch again. Like people are like, we'd get 200 people signing up for Zoom and at least 100 attendees for the really high popular topics, and I just said, okay, fine, like those sandwiches are great, but obviously they're not the real deal here. So Jim had asked a question in chat. Kirk, are you part of
yes,
the central IT org?
yes, we are.
You are? Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And we did the classification, and I leveraged the CARC job family thing, like, and here we are, we're done, thank you very much. And we actually leveraged that for some of the central IT things, where we actually branched out the facilitator role, but basically the system side of the fence, we just copy and pasted and said, okay, platform engineer. And so that was quite effective. And very, very useful. I mean, thank God they had that done, because, like, look, here's a national consortium that has something. It's been vetted by both HR and research and IT folks. Use this to help us out.
Jim, are you in central IT?
Sorry, I was talking really. I just had to unmute. Um,
Yeah, no problem.
so I just went to work for Virginia Tech, and at Virginia Tech, their research computing group is part of Central IT. In When I was at Penn State, I was in a group that kind of straddled. We had a dual report relationship with the vice president for research and the CIO, and the people that actually ran the HPC were part of the research office.
Mm.
So reported to an institute director who reported to vice president for research.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we found, and somebody did a study in CARC maybe, about, where people report up through, and there's some documents, but as you've seen, it's different everywhere. But yeah, congratulations on your new role. So Susan said, so that's good. Yeah. But we've all kind of been in different locations, and somebody told me this from the very beginning, but as we all know, it's really just about the individual people that are leading these units, and how successful you can be.
Yeah, I was gonna say something for onboarding people and teaching people how to do stuff right, which is good luck with that when it comes to scientists. Speaking as a scientist, but one thing that's really been effective for me is a non-computer science hackathon, where you get a bunch of people together and you solve a problem. You can have the hackathon leader be one of your core faculty you're targeting or something like that to solve one of their problems, and you go in and you do more technical solutions. You do everything HPC enabled, so people are learning as they move along. You do pre-training where people learn Linux, because most people don't know Linux, right? So they can get on the command lines, and then they could potentially do HPC down the road. So if you get people together and get them excited about a problem, like we use nutritional genomics a lot and Ayurvedic medicine and essential oils and stuff like that, like how they actually work in your body. So very much a biohackathon. But people get excited about it. People will show up, especially the students will show up to those kind of things and learn a lot. You give them a digital badge. You get them up on a paper. You can publish papers in these things if you stretch them out a little bit. They're awesome ways to actually interact in a non-passive way. Like, these are great calls, right? But it's really hard to really collaborate when you're just talking about stuff in a passive way. So just throw that out. It works really fast. I've done 20 of them in the last 12 months, and they're awesome. Every one of them at least had something that was made it worth doing. And a lot of people now know how to use like our cluster at Clemson.
Well, and I think that's one where we've been toying within the NYSERNet, our regional I2 provider, is because the hard part is putting these things together and gluing them together and announcing them. And one of the things we thought of would be if we all could provide one and then share everybody else's, so that it's not quite as much a load to do 12 of them, for example. And that's one where we sort of stalled. It's that beginning of the year, restart, reboot everything. But that's one thing that we've been discussing within the New York State region of, would it be possible for like Syracuse to do something on OSG and UB do something on UB stuff, and because we all have different pieces, and RPI is getting their quantum computer. So this is one of those where if we can act as the conduit to say, hey, somebody's doing a cryo EM intro. Here's the cryo stuff, right? Or here's, we're doing some genomic stuff, to share that out and about. And the hard part that I think is still, like, even on campus, to find out what colloquia and symposium and talks going on just on campus, we can't crack that. So to even expand that to like interinstitutional, if we could crack that problem, that would be an interesting one that I think could create some interesting results, because then we might also see interdisciplinary and institutional collaborations that would be nice.
My company does these hackathons. We've done exactly what you're saying, the same kind of things, and we know how to do them, and they're awesome and they're fun. And so you don't have to do that. They're OSP, NRP, Palmetto, whatever, you know, the BYOB or BYO HPC kind of stuff, right? You know, whatever it takes. So it's already, we've been doing it. I've been doing it for about 5 years. And as a company, I've been doing it for about 2 years. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you about hosting one of these things and hosting really from a bio perspective is what I'm really into.
Mhm.
And, you know, and you can do a quantum computing one and you could do a computer science one. But if you do one that's more like a hacking at a problem, like we do like renal cancer, we have patients come in, we have a mother come in with children who are sick, very, very sick. Like it's unbelievable. They're still alive, sick, and solve problems. And everybody gets real excited about solving the problem. And underneath behind the scenes, they're learning how to do HPC and they don't even know it. Learn how to do it right as long as you're mentoring it properly. Anyway,
Mhm.
let's throw that out.
Okay, so does anybody else have any pain points or things that they want to accomplish this year, items that are on their radar, priority issues? You know, I think what's kind of nice about this, doing this, first of all, we all kind of get to share our common problems, but whatever problems we have, our community also has. You know, if they don't have them now, they may have them as their centers get bigger. So, you know, when we can document these things that we're going through, and then possibly, like Kirk said, you know, the more artifacts we can come up with that will help somebody else not having to recreate the wheel, the better. Communication right now is a big issue for me. Just trying to, you know, we don't have a Marcom group, but we, you know, we need people to know, like you were saying, Kirk, we need people to know that we have the services. Of course, you know, we also have to be a little bit careful so that we don't have create our own problems by all of a sudden having way too many people for the staff that we have that can support services. But even just who edits the website, you know, like I've become a WordPress editor and I'm not very good at it. And but you know, there's only 3 people on my team, so it's either my HPC admin or you know, the PhD scientists who are helping people use it. So you know, that's something that as you become a little bit bigger than just a 1-person shop, but not a 10-person shop, you have to have these skills. And you know, what I do is I go out and look at everybody else's websites, you know, people on this call, people in our community, and I copy and paste a lot. I usually ask people, but you know, maybe we create a template at some point that, you know, the next emerging center, when they just know that they should include all this stuff and we post it somewhere. I think that would be helpful. We've talked about newsletters before. We've done an annual report sharing one year, which was really great. I got a lot of information from Rich's report that he has he does a lot of things. So I don't know where we put those, if those are on the website, but maybe that's something that we as a community can make sure that we have these things posted somewhere. I know we've talked about this before, but it seems like the easiest place is just put them on the website and just put them in a list of docs on there. They get stale, but they're better than zero.
Yeah. Actually, we have so we have that new faculty flyer that is on the Emerging Centers page of the website. We also worked up like a single page, like what do we deliver? Which is more like how many cores, how many clusters, how many users, how many projects, and like what are the sort of headline grant funded projects and dollar amounts that we sort of put out there. I can probably put a link to that on the website, and so people can see what that looks like. It does take maintenance, and I'm about to engage in getting started on our next year's version of this, but it is, I think it's impactful because it gets stuff right in front of people's faces, in terms of these are the things that we did this past year, and what kind of research we've been able to support. So it's a real simple one. I'll put it in the call doc as well.
Yeah,
And
That's
one
great.
thing we've been pondering is actually hiring a marketing Marcom intern to specifically walk us through it. I think this might be one where maybe we make a workshop on emerging centers communications. What are avenues? Because the other thing is, I think both our research computing and our central IT suffer the not putting in the right voice, not thinking like we are so technical that we're not making it available to people. So this might be it would be an interesting workshop, maybe similar to like Henry's virtual residency, but maybe a sit down, engage some marketing and PR people of like walk through what what makes a good communication, what brings people in, what's the elevator pitch for funding or services or things like that, which I only know partially about, working with an entrepreneurial professor once on, how do you do a startup? It might be interesting to see if we could pool together and find the resources to put together a 1 or 2 day thing of put together your output and let's review it, read it, and maybe follow Rich's example of like, can we piggyback that as you're writing that, and like, what are the questions we should ask? What are the main points we should hit? Things like that.
We did that. We did at Perk. I think we did the annual report. Now I can't remember. It was during COVID, but we had a really good attended. I mean, it was all virtual. Kind of not on this communication, but on maybe we should. I mean, I'd be willing to do some sort of a workshop at Perk. That we kind of could kick this off as from our community, and then maybe go on. One thing we've talked about with these calls is having some recurring themes happen each month or every other month that we just kind of update. Every month we're going to talk a little bit about communication. Every month we're going to talk a little bit about some other skill sets going forward, so we don't spend whole sessions on them, but maybe we just get an update. Or so that could be a good kickoff. I like that. It's something that I think everybody needs to be able to communicate.
If you need a partner in crime, I'll join in on that.
Okay, I like that.
So that another thing that I sort of wanted to elevate. I haven't been to the virtual residency, but I did steal some slides, and I had just been looking at them not too long ago, but Henry has a set of slides on effective communication that are really fantastic, and I'd be happy to. I don't know if I guess I'll just put them in the folder and link to them from the call doc, because not only is it good strategies for communicating with researchers, it's also good strategies for communicating with leadership. Like I said, I didn't go to the virtual residency workshop, but I found this slide deck to be really, really helpful, especially in terms of like how to know when you're talking, when two people are talking past each other and things like that. So I will upload that to the folder and link to it from the call doc. That's just one of the things that like cropped up in the past week of like, man, that's some solid stuff.
Yeah, that goes back to our also evergreen conversation that there's a lot of information out there, but it's where to find it. And, how do we curate it for this community so that, say, oh, I'll go there, but. Anybody else have anything they would like to add? What's keeping you awake at night? What you're working on? Any big projects? We talked about cryo, big scientific equipment. I can't remember who I talked to at SC, but we're talking about having an affinity group around scientific instrumentation support. And how people are doing that through access. My God, I think it was Julie Ma maybe, but I can't remember who I was talking to. So, I think that's definitely that's something in my world that's important, and that everybody's doing it, but doing it a little bit differently. And maybe can we all meet together at some point? I think we may have a meeting at PERC to talk about how people support infrastructure like that. Even networking, are they on their own VLANs? Are they, there's lots of pieces to those scientific instrumentation. If anybody knows something that already exists like that, please let me know, but I couldn't find anything formal. So. Are other people on this call? Are you interested in something like that? Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, we did a systems facing call about actually it was more about supporting storage in the cloud, but one of the use cases was the cryo-EM. When we got the cryo-EM, and we talked some about how to set up the infrastructure for it. So I think Penn State has 3 cryo-EMs now. 2 at the medical school and 1 at or 2 at the University Park campus and 1 at the medical school. And fortunately, the first one was delayed by 5 months in the installation, and that gave us time to put the necessary storage and networking in place. So it was the most lead that we ever had for setting up an instrument like that. And it was just because the shipping was delayed. They were fairly new at the time, and they were coming from Germany by ship or something like that. So, but it's really good to have. I mean, as fast a network as you can have, redundant networks, and we did put it on a VLAN of its own, and that's mainly from security perspective. We don't want people messing with it. And obviously a lot of times with instrumentation, the instruments get certified on a version of the operating system, and the vendor doesn't update that, so it quickly falls behind what your security people would like to have you running on the instrument workstation. And so we basically put it in its own sort of enclave and poked holes in for the vendor to come in to fix it. We'd set up an incoming link because the vendors have to update the firmware or update the operating system on the workstation. But we we did that, to sort of isolate it, but also to protect it, and that's what we've done with most of the instruments at Penn State. Um, and a good thing to also have is, like, near a cryo EM, is some GPU resources, even if they're outdated, so that the scientists and the microscopists can sort of pre-process the images and take a look at them before they ship them off to the HPC resources or the GPU resources that they'll need to actually do the processing. So it's always good to let the people that are taking the images play around with it a little bit before they actually set up the jobs to process the image. And then the storage is a big problem. The group at Penn State is using a Dropbox account, with unlimited storage, quote unquote. And that's not going to last forever, as we've seen with Google and Box
Right.
and Microsoft. Unlimited storage is a myth, and it'll go away eventually. So that's what we struggle with that class of instruments that's able to produce terabytes of information. Is you struggle where to store, because in fact with something like a cryo EM, the imaging algorithms are getting better, and this is one of the things that we highlighted in that systems facing talk, and I'll see if I can find the link. But the algorithms are getting better, so you can take data that you collected in 2018 or something and process it today, and you can really push the resolution using the same data but newer imaging algorithms. So it's really, it's essential that people keep some of the old stuff. And because people say, well, process it and get rid of it, get rid of the raw data. But in doing so, you may give up an advance in the resolution that comes through algorithms rather than optics. So that would be my sort of like advice on cryo EM support.
That's very useful. Yeah, and I typed it all up and I'm going to put it somewhere so other people, as they start getting cryo EMs, they can, this is such good knowledge for our community. It's not just about the scientists, obviously. That's one tool that is really, it really requires the advanced research computing teams to be involved. They can't just do it at like the college level, or it's a university-wide support issue.
Hey, Jim, with that, so how are the researchers? You doing are they pretty self-sufficient once you get the architecture set up? Are they able to run workflows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Ours
the
are.
benefit is we had a really good guy come in. Their systems guy is excellent. And he has made all the difference doing the bridge between sort of central computing, research computing, and their local cryo EM group.
Okay.
Um,
And
so,
is that spreading that knowledge? Is the knowledge becoming institutionalized for cryo EM data processing?
I think so. They sort of did a what do you call those? A group hire or a block hire.
Cluster
Where
hiring.
they cluster hire, where they got some younger folks that were more into the algorithms than the biology of the structural biology, and that really made a big difference, because there's a lot of knowledge that came with like an assistant professor and a postdoc, and so a lot of knowledge came with those folks to sort of enrich the group.
Gotcha.
So they have their own systems person that's just like a full-time person that's kind of managing their data workflow infrastructure type stuff.
They do, and the CT folks have their own systems person. They interface with the research computing, but a lot of the imaging centers have their own people to kind of, boots on the ground and know the instrument as well as sort of the systems that support them in the immediate vicinity, and coordinate with central IT to kind of provide resources beyond what that group, can supply.
Yeah, because that's the staffing is a question too. Like we've been supporting them through our group, but we just don't have the bandwidth to continue to being those boots on the ground people. We've been helping them set it up, but it's kind of so that's another interesting piece of information to collect, how people are supporting this going, from a technical point of view.
And you'll find that you have a rich, if you choose to tap it, you have a rich resource, and that there's a lot of people that get terminal master's degrees in, say, structural biology, that you might be able to hire and make into that person that interfaces between the,
Mm.
microscopists and the systems people.
Interesting.
Those are the same kind of people that are get facilitator jobs too, right? That's kind of the archetype,
Yep. Mhm.
and everybody seems to be pretty happy.
Yep.
Yeah, since it's a little bit quiet, but maybe that's one of the things. I mean, this is I'm always trying to remember. There's an emerging centers group, right? But maybe organizing that kind of facilitation, like for translating to different emerging centers or whatever, built around something like building a large language model, building large language models, everything that's associated with that, running a cryo-EM facility, running a DNA sequencing facility, like for people that are just got a grant to plop in a DNA sequencer or whatever, cryo-EM's pretty, you have to be pretty sophisticated
Mm.
institute. You probably got to be R1 before you're going to get one of those, right? The money and everything and the infrastructure. But if you build that around, and then it's like it's an interdisciplinary, facilitative manual for doing something it's so HPC enabled. And that's the way I look at the world. I look at the 21st century as just everything we've always done, but just it's on a layer of HPC or cloud or whatever you want to call it. And so but that's where it's like whenever I hear I've been coming to these kind of meetings for over a decade, and I always hear the word community. And rarely do I understand what that word means in the context it said. I think a lot of times it means IT communities, but like it's just like one facet of the interdisciplinary diamond, right? Bringing in, building it around a problem. And that's kind of like with hackathons, not trying to bring back in, but we're trying to solve a problem. I don't care if you have a magic wand, a sword, and a supercomputer to solve the problem, whatever it takes to solve it. And I know cryo-EM. I mean, I've been enlisted by lots of people to help me with my cryo-EM, and I've always had a hard time getting across the data transfer barrier because I can't get anybody to use a data transfer node. Even if I show them, they'll go back to HTTP in it to something, a zip file that's ginormous. So anyway, helping the end user and helping the facilitator, is, and all the systems people, we're all in it together. Kumbaya. I'll be quiet.
For now. Well, I mean, that's a great point of view, because that is what we're in. And I just had somebody from our College of Nursing send me an email, and he was like, I'm an instructional designer, and we want to give advice on how our nursing professors and researchers can use Gen AI in their research. And there's the user point of view, but then there's the how do we support that with our users? So we're definitely intertwined there. So
Send him my name. I'll be happy to talk to him.
I will. I know, and I can firsthand say that Alex's team of the hackathon group it's an amazing process. We almost got there to do it at UC, and then we got a P&G as a sponsor, which was great too, but they kind of shut us down as what they really wanted to do. So, but it's such a great tool and idea, and everybody got excited about it. The students, the researchers, the administrators, to do this in a format, to explore and understand something in a format. And he has like some of that training, which, we found nobody's really, which shouldn't be a surprise, but for Gen AI in particular, nobody's teaching this in any classes. I mean, we would have a hard time, and we're handling our specific thing as a project now. And we just looked for kids that had any sort of, or researchers or postdocs or faculty that have any actual experience or have even done anything other than just Googling it, and it just doesn't exist. So, Alex can help if anybody has any need to have this exposed and really increase your usage on your so I second, third, and fourth that it's a great thing that you're doing.
Well, that's I started talking again. The generative AI is the biggest thing that's ever even close to anything I've ever seen as a 30-year scientist, and being able to do research and teaching both of them equally. And there's a lot of people skipping off the surface. Some people are going in a little bit, but this is stuff that like I'm really excited about. I work with a lot of smaller institutions, and I'm excited about trying to supercharge them. And maybe they start doing it the way it's a 21st century way. Maybe they'll start to be competitive with larger institutions for getting people to come to their school for these very reasons. So I think it's like this is like what do you want to do this year? All I want to do is like finally enter the 21st century with this tech week tools we have to be able to solve some of these massive problems that are, some of them are extinction events, and we need to be training people how to solve these problems. And generative AI is massive. Generative AI does my peer review before I send it off to peer review. My students who are all terrified of existing in this country because they're afraid of COVID and the end of the world and everything. They're paralyzed. They're deer in the headlights. They can talk to an AI agent and get the same kind of responses that I give, and the one we use. ChatGPT doesn't do that. When I use does. And so it's just so exciting to be for people to and crack this interdisciplinary problem, right? When we have an IT department, we have a storage department, we have a compute department, a network department, whatever, and everybody's all separated. We've got to glue together, and generative AI is a really good way to do that. I'm excited. 21st century. It only took 25 years to get here. We're here.
What century are we in now? 21st.
Yeah, but we're still, I mean, I look at it, we're still stuck in the 1990s in so many ways, right? Especially from a higher ed perspective. And so I'm excited about things changing, not destroying, but changing into using all this tech we have, where people are like, the problems y'all are talking about with GPU usage, it's like you're at 0.01% of what people need, right? That's a really good problem when those systems are getting saturated, not because they're using CPUs only and they're skipping the GPU cards, right? That's a problem, but people are waking up, and I see it in the new hires at the assistant professor level.
So a random question about systems. TAC is in the process of giving away pieces of Stampede 2. And we're working actually with some emerging centers in Africa to set up a training program for a software stack specifically for these racks of gear. And one, there's hundreds of nodes that are just going to get given away. They're a little bit older, but they're still super functional. It's just, with TAC, it's not the kind of machine that we support anymore because we're supposed to be doing the bleeding edge. So part of why I wanted to sit on this was to basically see, is there anybody here who's looking for a system upgrade who might be interested in these? I mean, we have a whole program. This is something that has happened in the past. We've done it with other machines, but it's been really informal. Like, you get in touch with Dan and he says, pull your car up, I'll throw some in your trunk. And we're trying to formalize it a little bit more with a common software stack and training and such around it. So part of what I was wondering if, how am I going to do my next systems upgrade was on anybody's agenda.
I try to do that as a faculty member at Clemson to bring in some parts, probably roll TAC parts, right? And I was told, no, we can't do it because of the power problems. Like we were sucking too much power, and I don't. That was a deal breaker.
Yeah, we're coming up with here's the basic thing that you have to have in terms of floor space and power and support and other things. I don't actually, nobody's written that down yet. It's all in people's brains, so we should have something written down in the next week or two. But
are you? I assume you're working with Brian Johnston out of South Africa?
Yeah. Brian's part of this. He's actually because of my background at IU before I came to TAC, and with some NIH guys, we had been mostly focusing on Africa. And he was like, look, there's a whole bunch of Americans who could deal with the same thing. And using his support environment that he's already got set up is basically the cohort to support these things. going forward once, you know, they get deployed. So,
I would be very interested if I'll send you an email. Like I'm working with a lot of HBCUs and a lot of their IT people, right? And some of them are really, really small. And if I knew the constraints or the power constraints and floor space and the actual kind of cost of usage, and I would very much like to put that in front of a few people, mostly in the Southeast.
And we are looking for our next generation. But I do know of some more smaller liberal arts colleges in New York State that might benefit from such a thing. And I think it would be, floor space, power, cooling. And then the question would be the sysadmin thing, if it's under similar things like the open storage network where administrators could get sort of bootstrapped and, okay, here's the thing.
yeah,
Because I think that's going to be the last piece of accepting the hardware is one thing, but then actually utilizing it.
right.
Be a bit
So
of a
I threw
different thing.
the existing link in. It's got some information on the past programs, and it's got an application form, which is Epsilon ignored. But what we're trying to do, what Brian Johnson and I are trying to do, is add on a training component and a longer term sustainability group for this, because the tax sysadmins can't keep supporting it.
Right.
They're your last line in defense. So we're trying to put in place some community support around these in a better way. So
Well, and if we start using more standard
yeah,
methodologies and from a standard, the
right, right,
HPC
and shifting to the
toolkit,
stack that the Brian's open ecosystems folks are using and such.
Yep.
And really targeting this more for the not TAC users, the small to medium folks who can
Mhm.
use this equipment.
So
Well,
I'm
I'll
happy
pass
to
it
let
out
this
to a few.
conversation go on, but I have to leave.
Nope, that's fine.
Can I
We
give
can do this
Jane,
at another
the host-
call too. If this is of interest to people, I'm happy to talk about this at another call as makes sense.
That's what I'm thinking, is that this would be a great, we wanted to bring back Brian and his group. And so maybe we tie this in with that call that we're planning with them, probably, March or April. And I also put it in the notes here, and we can send something out to the emerging centers listserv too with that information. But I think that's definitely a lot of people would be interested in knowing more. I heard something about it from Brian, but this is another thing that communication is great. So why don't we put it on the agenda for a future topic? And I put it in the call notes.
Okay.
And
We
then,
could get Brian and Jennifer to lead.
yeah,
lead it.
yeah,
So I'm talking to him on Friday, so we can certainly work something out here.
yeah,
That'd be
that
awesome.
would be really good. Yep. And yeah, we can help. One of the things I think this emerging centers community can help is with some little hot teams too. So if you're looking for develop a community of people that will help, obviously Cork is one of the places to go, which you already know. So okay, I think it is 11 o'clock. I think we have a lot of good information, and this will inform our future discussions. And hopefully, if people have some same problems, we can get some groups together and think about proposing for PERC for the conference for birds of a feather on some of these topics. I know I'm definitely going to do the scientific equipment one and maybe a communications one. So, all right. Anybody have any last minute notes, thoughts? Alex? Kidding. Okay, then. We'll see everybody next month.
Right.
Bye.